Here's the question I don't hear enough people asking. What if the business strategy you're following is perfectly designed for someone else's values? Think about it. Most of us inherited our success formulas from mentors, from books, from the industry we're in, from people who build their empires in a completely different era with completely different priorities. And we execute brilliantly on those strategies. We hit the milestones, we check the boxes, we look successful on the outside, but on the inside, we feel empty. Not because the strategy is wrong, but because it's built on someone else's foundation. You know what I see all the time? Leaders optimizing for metrics that don't actually matter to them, chasing milestones that won't bring the fulfillment they're craving, building a prison disguised as success. And the worst part, they don't even realize it until something breaks. So let me ask you something. How would you feel if in 6 months from now, you look back and realize you built another year on someone else's values? What would that cost you? Another year of Sunday night dread, another year of resenting the work you used to love, another year of your kids asking, "When are you coming home?" And you don't have an answer. That's not a small thing. That's your life. Last episode, I gave you the framework, the 4 pillars of a conscious business model. And we started with values because everything else is built on that foundation. Today, we're going forensic on pillar number 1. Not just identify your values, that's the easy part. We're talking about embodying them, living them, breathing them, being them, building your entire business strategy around them. Because if your foundation is cracked, it does not matter how beautiful the rest of the building is. Eventually, that whole sucker is going to come down. By the end of this episode, you're going to know exactly where your foundation is cracked and how to repair it. In the last episode, I gave you a 5-minute values audit. Today, we're going deep, real deep. So buckle up, my friend, and let's get to it. Now, chances are you're violating your values right now, and you don't even see it because values violation don't always announce themselves. Most of the time, they whisper little nudges, quiet discomfort, that voice that says something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it. So you ignore it because you're busy, because you've got bills to pay, because everyone else seems fine with the way things are. That's until one day you're not. Let me show you the 3 ways this shows up. So, type 1 is the slow leak. These are the small daily compromises that drain your energy. It's not that bad justification. Death by 1,000 cuts. Like saying yes to networking events you hate because that's what you're supposed to do to grow your business. Or staying on social media platforms that make you feel gross because you need to be visible. Or keeping clients who drain you because they've been with you since the beginning. None of these things will kill your business, but they'll kill your soul. Slowly, quietly, until you look around one day and realize you've built something you can't even stand to be in. The second type is the big betrayal. This is the one major decision that's completely out of integrity. Usually involves money, status, or approval. It feels like selling your soul for success, like taking on that client or a project or a partnership that violates your core values, but the money's too good to pass up. Staying in that role that's breaking you because walking away feels impossible. Compromising on something that matters to you because everyone else seems to think you're being too idealistic. This one's louder than the slow leak. Your body is screaming at you, but you override it anyway because the rational mind says, Well, this makes sense. Spoiler alert, your body is usually right. Here's the third type. This is the inherited blueprint. This one is the sneakiest because you're not violating your values. You're actually full out living someone else's values and then calling them your own. You're following someone else's definition of success, building toward a finish line you didn't even choose for yourself, like the retirement chase. Once I hit that number, then I'll be happy. Or the credential trap. Once I get this degree, then I'll be qualified. I'll get recognition. I'll be respected. You're executing brilliantly on a strategy that was never yours to begin with. I know this because I lived it. Actually, I lived all three of these. But the inherited blueprint, that's the one that almost took me out. Here's how I like to explain it. Imagine you're at a buffet, but instead of filling your own plate, you hand it to everyone else in the restaurant and let them decide what you're going to eat. Your parents put on the safe career option, your mentors add the impressive credentials, your peers pile on, work harder, hustle more. Society sprinkles on the buy the house, get the title, look successful. And then you sit down at the table and you look at this plate full of food and you think, why am I not satisfied with this meal? That was me for years. I didn't even know my own values. I just knew what I thought good people should value, what successful people were supposed to want. My values weren't even mine. They were borrowed, inherited, and then I performed them. And honestly, it can get even worse. I once had this client who was even more disconnected than I was. She wasn't even at the buffet letting other people fill her plate. She was in the parking lot and hadn't even given herself permission to be hungry. Oh, that hurt. So, what's the cost of all of this? Well, for me, it was depression, major self worth issues, constant people pleasing that grew into resentment, and I had no idea what joy even looked like. I was successful on paper, climbing the ladder, hitting the metrics, and I woke up one morning with this elephant of dread on my chest. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. And I just lay there thinking, I just can't do this anymore. And then I heard myself say this out loud. There has got to be more to life than this. And that question, that tiny spark of curiosity, opened the floodgates for change. And your body knows before your mind does. So here are some of the physical symptoms of value misalignment. Chronic exhaustion, even after rest, because you're running on borrowed fuel. Decision paralysis, because nothing feels right when your compass is broken. Frustration towards your clients, towards your team, even the work you used to love. And our favorite, imposter syndrome, because you're judging yourself on an unrealistic metric. If any of that sounds familiar, that's your cue that you're building on the wrong foundation. So that's the cost. Now, let me show you what's possible when you get this right. When your values and your strategy match, you stop checking your phone on Sunday night with dread. It doesn't mean the work gets easier. It doesn't mean that there's no struggle. It means the struggle feels worth it because you're fighting for something that actually matters to you. Just imagine this for a second. You walk in on Monday morning, and for the first time in years, you're not dragging yourself there. Not because you won the lottery and not because everything magically got easier, but because the work you're doing finally matters to you. How would that change everything? How could that not change everything? Your energy, your creativity, your patience with your team, your presence with your family when you get home, everything shifts when your foundation is solid. So let me give you some real world examples of what this actually looks like. I worked with a CEO who was executing brilliantly, hitting metrics, growing the company, checking every box the board wanted him to check. But he came to me stuck and he couldn't figure out why. Turns out he was living in what he called the I don't know what I don't know zone. He was building towards success markers that the industry told him mattered, but that he never stopped to ask if they actually mattered to him. His values weren't wrong, they were borrowed. Once we did the work to uncover what he actually wanted versus what he thought he should want, everything shifted. He wasn't stuck because he lacked strategy. He was stuck because his strategy was built on someone else's foundation. Let me give you a different example. I worked with a professional who knew she wanted something different, but she couldn't name what was holding her back. Through our work together, she discovered her core value wasn't security, like she thought it was. It was actually freedom. And the moment that she saw that, everything changed. She stopped asking, "Is this safe?" and started asking, "Does this expand me?" Within months, she was pursuing the dreams that she had been putting off for years, the ones she was waiting on retirement to pursue. Not because she got braver, but because she got clearer. Here's my favorite example of what happens when values get clear. So I was working with a CEO, a founder of an 8-figure business. Absolutely brilliant man, heart of solid gold. When we got on the call, he was trying to figure out how to convince his board to pay him for his overdue and undervalued wages. Classic value violation. He'd built this massive company, poured everything into it, and wasn't even being fairly valued or recognized for his contributions. Yes, he put on a brave face, but underneath, I could see that he was tired, frustrated, and even starting to lose his spark. We did value inner work, not strategy, not negotiation tactics, values. And by the end of that call, he had completely pivoted. He wasn't asking for his hard earned paycheck anymore. He was designing a 7-figure buyout plan so that he could exit the company and move on to his next passion project. Same CEO, same company, same board, completely different question. That's what happens when your values get clear. The question isn't, how do I get paid for what I'm worth here? The question becomes, what do I actually want? And what's the strategy and the path to get there? He went from asking permission to claiming ownership in 45 minutes. Now, before I show you the 3 ways to make this shift for yourself, let me tell you why this matters so much. Because I don't want you to think value work is just a nice to have personal development thing. This is a business strategy and the data proves it. Companies with strong values clarity see 30% higher employee retention. And we all know how much it costs to replace people. They're more likely to report high performance and they outperform their competitors in revenue growth by 250%. Gallup found that teams with clear values show 21% higher profitability and 41% less absenteeism. Why? Because when your values are clear, everything else gets easier. Here's what most people don't understand about values. Your values aren't just personal preferences, they're the foundation of your operating systems. They give you clarity on what you will and won't do, how you show up in the marketplace, who you serve, and how you serve them. And that clarity informs your boundaries. Your boundaries create your policies, build your playbooks, and your playbooks guide your workflow. When your value pillars are solid, your people know what to expect. Your clients know what you stand for. Your decisions get faster because the criteria is clear. But when your value pillars are off, everything is a struggle. Your team isn't even sure what to expect. Your clients get inconsistent experiences, and you're making decisions from scratch every time because your foundations has cracks. And here's the thing, and I know you know this. Trust comes from clarity and consistency. Your clients don't trust you because you're perfect. They trust you because they know what you stand for and you deliver on it consistently. And your team doesn't trust you because you never made a mistake. They trust you because your decisions are predictable and rooted in the values that they can count on. That's what value alignment creates, not just internal peace, external trust. So when I talk about honoring your values, this goes well beyond self-care, my friend. I'm talking about strengthening your business infrastructure from the ground up. And here are the 3 ways to do that. So, option 1, change the context. You stay in the same role or business, but you restructure how you show up. So, for example, shifting from doing all the work yourself to mentoring others to do it. The pro here is it's less disruption. The con is that it does require some negotiation and boundaries, and not everybody's going to like it. Option 2 is change a container. So you stay in the same industry, but you change either the company, the client, or in the environment. Like a corporate leader who becomes a consultant so that she can choose her own aligned clients. The pro here is that you get to keep your expertise and change your environment. The con is that it does require courage and self-trust to leave the status quo. And option 3 is you change the game entirely. You exit the industry or role and explore something completely new. So, just like that CEO's 7-figure buyout, or my shift from Wall Street to Ascension Academy. The pro here is total alignment becomes possible. And the con is that it is going to require a huge leap of faith and a transitionary period. But you're not starting from scratch. You're bringing all of your strengths and your skills along with you. And most people think the only path forward, especially when they get to that rock bottom, is option 3, that you have to burn it all down in order to find alignment. That's the Phoenix effect. But often, option 1 or option 2 create the shift that you need without all the upheaval. So the question isn't, what's the biggest change I can make? The question I want you to ask yourself is, what's the most aligned choice that I can make right now? Start where you are and grow from there. So let me give you a quick example. I worked with an entrepreneur who came to me completely stuck. She had all of these ideas, but couldn't execute on any of them. Not because she lacked strategy, but because she lacked value clarity. Once we cleared out the noise and identified what actually mattered to her, the ideas didn't just come, they organized themselves. She went from scattered to focus in 30 minutes because her values became her filter. So, how do you actually do this? How do you move from violation to alignment? Stick around, my friend, because that's what we're about to unpack next. Okay, so last episode, I gave you the quick version of the values audit. Today, we are going deeper, and you are going to want to actually do this, not just listen to it, do it. Grab a pen and a paper right now. This is going to take you 15 minutes, but I promise it is the most important 15 minutes you'll spend this week. Obviously, if you're driving, do it the second that you can. Do not put this off. Because here's what I know for sure. The people who actually do the work are the ones who get the results. The people who just listen, well, they stay stuck, and that's sad. So if you're listening to this, I know that you're the kind of person who's not afraid to lean in. So here's what you need to understand before we start. Value work isn't about finding new values. It's about clearing the noise so that you can hear what those values really mean for you. I worked with someone who told me After our first session, oh my God, we accomplished so much. You helped me clear out so much stuff. I can see exactly what's next. That's what this audit does. It clears the noise. All of the other people's opinions, the industry standards, those inherited beliefs, we want to clear those out so that you can actually hear your own inner knowing. All right, you ready? Let's do this. So here's your values integrity audit. Step one, let's identify your true values, not the aspirational ones. Don't write stuff that just sounds good. Write what's actually true for you when you're making those hard decisions. So here are some questions to help you with that. When I'm stressed, what do I protect first? Yeah, that's your real value. When I'm making decisions, what criteria matters most? When I feel most alive in my work, what value is being honored? When I feel frustrated or drained, what value is being violated? Write down 3 to 5 core values, not 10, not a laundry list, your top 3 to 5. The ones that, if they were being violated, you'd feel it in your body. Now, here's the next step. For each value, I want you to ask yourself 3 questions and rank them on a scale from 1 to 10. And you'll appreciate if you're really honest with yourself here. Not brutal, just honest. This isn't a test where you need high marks, because if you score a 5, that's not failure. That's a clear path showing you that you've got 50% growth potential for immediate improvement, and that is valuable data. So here's what the numbers are going to mean. So from 8 to 10, strong alignment, like you're solid here. From 5 to 7, partial alignment, here's your growth zone. And from 1 to 4, major misalignment, here's your leak and your biggest opportunity. So question 1, for each value on a scale of 1 to 10, how aligned is your current business or role with this value? Question 2, where specifically am I violating this value? And don't be vague here. My business is too broad. Get specific. The Tuesday meeting where I bite my tongue. Yeah. The client who's emailing me at 10 p.m. and I always respond. The project I said yes to because I was afraid to disappoint them. Name it out loud if you need to, because once you name it, you can't pretend that it's not there. Okay, here's question 3. What's this violation actually costing me? And not in abstract terms, like in real life. Is it costing you energy? Do you wake up exhausted even after having a good night's rest? Or maybe you toss internalite? Is it costing you time? Are you wasting hours on things that make zero difference, that do not move the needle? Is it about money? Are you undercharging because you don't believe in your worth? Is it costing you in your relationships? Are you snapping at your kids because you're already stretched thin? Is it costing you your health? Are you stress eating, not sleeping, aches and pains, exhausted? Or is it costing you your joy? Can you remember the last time you actually laughed at work? Here's why I want you to take some time to write it all down, all of it. Because once you see it on paper, it's easy to see the pattern and have that reflected back to you. Because once you see it, you can't unknow it. And that's the entire point. So step 3 is about moving you into aligned action. So look at your lowest scoring value, the one with the biggest misalignment, and ask yourself this: what is one structure that I could change this week to honor this value? And not someday, this week, not maybe one specific thing. And not something teeny tiny that lets you off the hook, something that actually moves the needle. Let me give you some examples. If your value is integrity and you're compromising it, have the hard conversation you've been avoiding. Say no to the opportunity that feels off. Restructure your prices to match your worth. If your value is presence and you're always scattered, block off sacred time with your family. No phones. Delegate the tasks that keep you in reactive mode. Stop working on weekends. If your value is impact and you're playing small, fire the client who's dulling your edge. Invest in the training that will level you up and start the project that you've been waiting to feel ready. Because you know what? We never feel ready. Just got to lean in, my friend. Now, once you've got your one change, then I want you to ask these two final questions. Ready? Here is the golden nuggets for you. What am I afraid will happen if I make this change? And write it down. This reveals the subconscious pattern that's keeping you stuck. And then ask yourself this. What will happen if I don't make this change? Write this down too, because this reveals for you the cost of staying stuck. Now look at those two answers. Which is scarier? The change or the status quo? There it is, in black and white, right in front of you. And that's exactly the point. Now, here is what most people will do with this information. They do the audit, they see the alignment, and now they're going to do nothing. And I am not being mean here. I'm just being honest because this is what I see all of the time. People get the clarity, they see the leak, they know exactly what to change, and then they talk themselves out of it. And you know what? I'm going to say something that might piss you off. You're not stuck because you don't know what to do. You know exactly what to do. You knew 5 minutes into this episode. You're stuck because you're waiting for someone to give you permission to want what you want. And I'm here to tell you that permission, it's never coming. Your board isn't going to give it to you. Your industry isn't going to give it to you. Your family probably isn't going to give it to you either. So you can keep waiting, keep compromising, keep building someone else's dream, or you can give yourself permission today, right now. That's it. That's the whole game. Here's the heart of the 3 excuses that keep you stuck. Excuse number 1, I can't afford to change this right now. Translation, I'm prioritizing short-term comfort over long-term gains. The truth of this is you can't afford not to change this. And here's the pattern. You're borrowing from your future self to fund your current compromise. And trust me, your future you is pissed about this arrangement. Excuse number 2. Once this happens, then I'll make the change. All right, reality check. That belief of once I hit the revenue goal, once the kids are older, once the economy stabilizes, once Mercury is out of retrograde. Okay, maybe not the last one, but you get my point? So let's translate this. You're putting a condition on your own integrity. And the truth is, there will never be a perfect time. And the pattern here, you're the one imposing a condition before you can get what you want, not anybody else. Here's excuse number 3. What if I'm wrong? What if this is the right path and I just need to push through? All right, think of it this way. You're standing at the edge of a pool. You know you need to jump, but you keep checking the temperature, asking anyone else if they're going to jump first, wondering if there are sharks in there. Meanwhile, you're burning up standing in the sun. And the pool? It's fine. You're just scared of the splash. You know what? We're all afraid of the unknown, the uncertain, and the undefined. But you know what this translates to? You don't trust what you know. And the truth is that your body is giving you data. Listen to it. And the pattern I see here is you're second guessing your intuition and lacking in self-trust. which, by the way, we're diving into the next episode. Listen, I want you to know this. These are not character flaws. These are protection mechanisms. Your subconscious is trying to keep you safe. That's its job. But keeping you safe from what? Discomfort? Uncertainty? Other people's opinions? Failure? Probably all of the above. But the cost of staying stuck is always greater than the cost of the change. You know what my excuse was? Guilt, shame, fear of judgment, and fear of failure. When I started wondering if there was something more to life than what I was living, people thought I was crazy. You're walking away from a successful career? Are you having a midlife crisis? And yeah, it was completely uncharted territory at first. But here's what actually happened. Things fell apart so they could come back together in the way they were meant to. My next opportunities didn't show up because I had it all figured out. They showed up because I got curious about what I really wanted. And then life opened up. Not because I was fearless, but because I was willing to ask the questions. So here's what I want you to do now. Pick one thing from your value integrity audit. The one change that will create the biggest shifts. And commit to making that change this week. Not thinking about it, not planning, doing it. If your value is integrity, have the hard conversation. Say no to what feels off. Restructure your prices. If your value is presence, block off sacred family time. Delegate. Stop working weekends. If your value is impact, fire the draining clients. Invest in yourself. Launch the project. And I would love it if you would take a screenshot of your one commitment and tag me at Annick Mon Enfant. Tell me what you're changing so that I can cheer you on. And here's where it's at. Let me ask you this. What's important to you about making this change? Not your board, not your spouse, not the industry, to you. Because that is the only answer that matters. And listen, if you're realizing that your value misalignment runs deeper than one quick fix, and I'm guessing it might, because it does for most people, I want you to know you are not alone in this. I've worked with hundreds of leaders who have done exactly what you're about to do. And here's what they all said. I wish I'd done this sooner. So if you want to go deeper with me live, join the free VIP Masterclass happening on November 4th. We're doing real-time values work, and I'll help you map your specific breakthrough pathway. This isn't a webinar where I talk to you for an hour. This is coaching. We go deep, and once we hit capacity, registration closes. So link is in the show notes. And if you do the masterclass and realize you want the full framework, the complete system for building all your 4 pillars specifically for your business, that's exactly what we do in the You and Your Soul Business program. We don't just identify your values, we build your entire business strategy around them. So work stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like self-expression. I'll leave the link for that below too. But whether you join the masterclass or not, whether you enroll in the program or not, here is what I want you to remember. Your values aren't just nice ideas. They are the architecture of your life. And when your business or career is built on a foundation that's not actually yours, it doesn't matter how successful you get. It will never feel quite right. But when you build on your values, when you honor what actually matters to you, success stops being a destination and just starts being the way that you show up every day. You didn't come this far. You didn't get through everything that you've been through just to spend the rest of your life building someone else's dream. So let's stop building from borrowed blueprints and let's build something that actually reflects who you are. Your life is meant to be your expression. In the next episode, we're diving deep into pillar number 2, intuitive discernment. Because once your values are clear, you need to learn to trust the inner compass that guides you towards them. I'm going to show you exactly how to tell the difference between intuition and fear, between wisdom and worry, between your knowing and the noise. Intuitive discernment is how you build self trust. It's going to be good. Don't miss it. Until then, trust your intuition, take aligned action, and keep leading with soul.